Another story from my yellow house. The most terrifying one. In that house, my ex-husband and I had the distinct feeling of always being watched. I would wake up in the middle of the night with the sensation that someone was next to me, staring at me. On 3 different occasions, I woke up to see people standing by our bed, watching my husband and me sleep. It was a constant state of fear. Can you imagine? Waking up to people standing there, watching you sleep. When my son turned 2 years and 11 months, I decided to wean him. As a result, he became difficult to put to sleep. When we moved into that house, there was already a 2-seater sofa, one of those without arms on the sides, made of red vinyl. It was nearly new, and since we had very little furniture, we decided to keep it. If you moved the sofa 5 times a day to clean, you would never find fewer than 10 frogs under there. It was like that every day, every hour. Even if we put them all outside, somehow, they would come back. We never left the doors open because my son was still a baby. One night, after feeding my son dinner and him still insisting on nursing, I put him in the hammock in the living room, lay down on the sofa, and started rocking the hammock. He kept whimpering. I was there, telling stories about wolves, princesses, and little pigs, and I must have dozed off. Out of nowhere, I jolted awake and heard my son talking about a creature. His hammock was swinging as if someone was pushing it. I told him there was no creature, but he insisted there was a black creature rocking his hammock. I grabbed the side of the hammock and started praying the Our Father out loud. I felt as if something heavy was pressing down on my chest and someone was squeezing my throat. But the worst part was, I heard a terrible voice and felt hot breath in my ear saying, "I'm going to kill you." I was already out of breath when my son, crying, screamed for his father, saying the black creature wanted to kill his mom. My ex-husband came running in and, seeing me struggling to breathe, started shaking me. It felt like a force lifted off me and moved toward the laundry room. I pointed to the laundry room, and my ex-husband went there, turned on the light, and saw only a bunch of frogs, but I could clearly see a dark, hazy smoke near the base of the wall, just standing there. I got up crying, pointed at the shadow, and screamed with all the strength I had, "You are rebuked in the name of Jesus. Go to the waves of the sacred sea because there is no place for you here." My ex-husband looked at me, confused, until he saw the bruises on my neck. The imprint of 5 large fingers was clearly visible. I told him to put the sofa in the backyard. He took it outside. I grabbed my son and sat on the sidewalk. The neighbor across the street came over, sat beside me, and asked if something had happened. I told her everything I had gone through in that house. Then came the shock. She told me the previous owners had left because they couldn't take it anymore. The husband had never seen anything, but his wife couldn't sleep there. Many times, she had woken up screaming, saying that someone was suffocating her and a voice was telling her it was going to kill her. They committed her to a mental hospital, but one night, while she was still institutionalized, the voice came to her husband's ear, throwing him against the walls, tossing him around like a paper airplane until he managed to escape through the door and run to his brother's house. From that day on, they never set foot in that house again. When I arrived at that house, the doors were broken. There wasn't a single working lock. The doors were propped up with wooden beams. I put in new doors, windows, and a toilet flush, but I only lived there for a year and 2 months. Shortly after that night, we moved out. That night will never leave my mind.